Hello everyone, this is Rachel from sweetbeepaperco. I'm back with another video. Today we are going to use up some of our scraps. I've been saving up my Christmas paper scraps. I'm ready to do a couple of projects with you. These are really easy. Let's use up some scraps. So we're going to do a couple different projects today. The first couple I want to get started so I can let the glue dry a little bit before I sew them. So the first one we're going to do are these note cards. If you don't have a sewing machine, no problem. I'll show you an easy way to do a faux sewing on there. These are super easy. They're just note cards. They're note cards I found packs at the dollar store of 3 different sizes. These don't take a lot of scrap paper, but they're so simple and easy to do. So let's do a couple. So as far as your scraps, what you're looking for, look for some strips you might have left. These are about 3/4 of an inch wide. This one is a little wider. There really is no requirement for measurements for any of these projects, but I'll give you the measurements of what mine are. That way you have a kind of idea of what I'm doing. And I am going to use one of my coffee stain index cards for this one. So there's a lot of variations you could also do with these too. You could ink up your edges. You could not ink up your edges. It's entirely up to you. So like this one, I put 2 strips on it. The rest of them, I just did the strips at the top. And they look really cute. You could put 2 different colors of paper on there. So what I did with these was straight stitch around the edge. And then I just did a little bit of a decorative stitch through the paper edge here. These are really cute. I've seen a lot of people do projects like these. They're cute for using in your journal or for sending to pen pals. So I'm just going to lay this against my card. I think this is a 4x6 index card. With these, you don't have to be super precise either. I'm just going to cut my strips. Take another scrap and put it back in my scrap bag. My husband and I were talking about how it's like you just get more and more and more scraps. Oh no. I'm honestly getting really tired of some of these papers. I have all these really pretty Christmas packs I got, and I'm just stuck on the same papers. So I'm just trimming them all to fit the size of my note cards. Okay, if you are not going to sew, so on this one, I'm not going to sew this one. I'm going to just glue. So if you are gluing, make sure you apply glue to all of your paper, just like you would do any other project, right? Go ahead and put one of those on there. And the second one, putting glue all over the paper. And I'll tell you why I'm saying that here in a second. Stick it down. Done. Done with the gluing. Super easy, right? And then you've got a nice little journal card. So we've got this one completely glued down. I'm not going to put this through my sewing machine. I'm going to set that aside for now. For the rest of these, I'm going to put them through my machine. And I don't want the glue to gum up my machine. I don't want to use a lot of glue because the machine's going to do most of the work. So what I'm going to do is just use the edge of my glue stick and just do a little line across, not very much glue. I just want it to be able to put it on there and just have it stick a little bit. So it's not completely attached to the paper because we're going to sew it down. So let me do the rest of these really quick. And the same thing, just a little bit of glue in the middle of your strip to hold it down. You could also do 2 different papers on the top and bottom. This is really, I mean, you can do whatever you want. So I've got these glued. I want to let the glue dry some before I put it in my sewing machine. So I'm going to set these aside and sew everything later because I have a couple of sewing projects. So if you are not going to put them through your machine, but you still want that stitching effect, you can use a Sharpie, a ballpoint pen, whatever color you want to use. You can use red or green or purple. And you're just going to create faux stitching all the way around your note card. So the marker I'm using is like a fine point Sharpie, and it's not giving me the super thick line, so I kind of go back over it. And just kind of go back and forth. Just put on some fake stitching. Okay, so I've got the stitching all the way around it. And now I want to do, this one I did just like a straight up and down. This one I think I want to try to do a little bit of a zigzag stitch. See how that looks. I'm not going back and forth because of the lip of the paper. And I'm not trying to be super even. Have fun with it. Try something different. That's it. Doesn't that look cute? I love how that one looks too. That is so cute. So I think too, I got a couple little stickers out. Ooh, that's cute. Pull a little sticker on. Done. That's really cute. The other ones, I didn't do stickers. I did stamps on them, which I think look really cute too. So yeah, I'm going to let these dry. This one is done. Let's move on to the next project. So the next one, I made this cute little banner ephemera piece. I don't really know what to call it, but I got this printable. I had these strips of paper. The strips are about 2.5 inches wide. So what I did too was just try to find one of my printables that would kind of fit on these and went that way. So if your paper is a little big, you could trim it down just so you have enough of a border of the paper. Just like with the index card we did first, if you are not planning on sewing, glue this completely down to the paper. And then from there, you could do some faux stitching on there. You can leave it and not do anything on there. Whatever you decide. I'm going to sew this one down. So just like on those note cards, I'm just going to apply a little bit of glue. But first thing I want to do is cut the bottom of this first. So an easy way I saw someone show this, and I wish I could remember who it was. So I think up from the bottom, I did about 1 inch. So I'm just going to put a dot in there, but you probably can't see that, it's really small. So what I'm going to do is just take my ruler, put it on that inch line, and look for the middle of your strip of paper, okay? So mine's 2.5 inches. So I am looking for 1 1.25 inches. Okay, so there's my dot there. So you've got your dot. I did mine 1 inch from the bottom and then the center of your paper. What you're going to do is take your scissors and cut straight up. And if you want, you could even draw a straight line down because that's going to get cut off anyway. But you just cut a straight line up to that dot. Okay? See how it's open there? Next, you're going to hold it at an angle with your other hand. You're going to line up the corner of your paper on the scissors where it's going to cut. And you're going to cut at an angle from that corner up to that dot. See that? So there's the dot I did. and I cut from an angle from the corner of the paper straight to that dot. So I'm going to do the same thing on the other side, putting the corner right on my cut line with my scissors and an angle with that dot and cutting to that dot. So now you've got practically perfect banner tails. So you could draw a line with your ruler straight down, and then you could go ahead and draw those side lines too. So you know you're cutting on the lines, but that is an easy way to get the tails cut. All right, so next, obviously optional, I'm just going to warm up my paper a little bit. So I'm just going to put a little bit of glue, just a little strip in the middle. I'm not going to the edge. Same thing with the cards. I just want this to be on there so it's not moving around when I'm trying to sew it. So I'm going to stick this in my pile that's drying, and I will sew all of those together. One more thing we have to do that needs glued. So on this one, I had some sheet or some scraps that are, these are about 3 1/8 wide. It was actually a sheet. So I cut it in half. This might have been from 2 different sheets, but I had downloaded a tag set that I thought was really cute, but I kind of wanted them to have a little bit of a background. I picked out this scrapbook paper and my scrap thing that kind of matches. So what I'm going to do first is just take my glue, do a strip of glue, boop, stick it on there. I think there's a little more than 1/4 inch room around it. So just take a tag or ephemera piece that you like, find a sheet in your scrap pile big enough to give it a border, so you don't even have to do a tag. If this wasn't a tag, I would just cut this off here and stitch around it. So let's trim this. I'm just going to eyeball it, the top edge and then the 2 corners. Another scrap. So with this one, I'll sew around the edge, and then I have a couple little printouts. I think this is a Tracy Fox label and a printout from Fairy that I'll put on these after I sew it. But I'm just going to stick this in my pile. If you are not sewing it, make sure you glue it completely down. You could do the faux stitching again or not, entirely up to you. So for this one, I made a little stacked pocket. You can do as many little pockets as you want. Make sure it's going to fit on your page first. The difference between each one is 1 inch. So what I did with my scraps is I just tried to find some bigger pieces that I could use that I could make little pockets out of. For this one we do here, I'm just going to do, I think 3. So this ended up being for width 3 inches. I could actually do a little bit wider of a pocket with these 2. The problem is this sheet, because if I did it sideways, I would have enough paper to do it. But this way, because of where I've torn it, would be a really skinny pocket. I want to do a little bit of a wider pocket. So what I'm going to do is look through my scraps. If I can't find a scrap that matches, I'm going to get another sheet of this out. So I think I'm going to use this paper, and it is 4 inches wide and 3.5 inches tall. So let me cut these 2. Okay, so now I want to make them in a tier. So I want to make this one 1 inch taller, and then this one will be 1 inch taller than this last one. So since this one is 3.5, I want to cut this to 4.5. And since that one is 4.5, we are going to 5.5. There we go. There is our pocket. So at this point, the tab things I cut out here, I used this envelope punch on. You could use circle punch. If you don't have any punches, you could cut a diamond notch. You could use a 1/4 or a nickel to trace like a half circle on the top and cut it out. That is entirely up to you, or you can not notch them at all. I'm just going to stick it in here punch those out, and we are good to go. So if you decide to glue these, I would take some liquid glue and then just glue down each of your layers using a small strip of glue. You could also use some score tape. I am going to sew mine. I did a zigzag stitch on the edges, and I think it looks really cute. The first time I put this through the machine, I did it with the edge of the paper in the middle. It didn't work out so well. It wasn't catching the paper correctly. So I ended up having to, because it didn't sew through it, I had to tear it out and do it again. So I was a little more than over the center line for my needle. So I am going to sew those. So that's going to go into my sewing pile. Last project, this is really easy. So we're going to be making a little bookmark out of some scrap strips. So I've got these. These are about 2 inches. This one is 2 inches. I think I'm going to trim this one down really quick. See how on this one, they're not flush with the edges there. So I want to trim this down a little bit. So for this part, it's entirely up to you how long you want your bookmark to be. This one is about 3.5 inches high. Just for continuity's sake, that's what so I just folded it over kind of where I liked, which ended up being about 4 inches. I'm just going to cut the back off. More scraps. And then this piece, so this one is about 6 1/8 inch long, and then I trimmed it down to 1.5 inches. So if the strip you have is too short, what I would do is just lay it over your paper and decide where you want it. So if you want this further down, further up, you could fold it wherever you needed to. I'm going to fold this one in half and see how it looks, because I think it might be too long. Yeah, it's a little too long. But what you have to think about too is when you put this on, this is going to sit up. That's about 1/8 inch up higher than your main paper. So keep that in mind. But I do want to trim this down a little bit because I really like the paper underneath a lot. This is also entirely optional. I'm going to curve the edges, smaller part. So what we're going to do is make a sandwich. So here's the main part of our bookmark. We're going to take the bookmark, we're going to put the paper clip on, and then we're going to glue this on top. Before you do that, test this on a sheet of paper. If it is too tight going in and out of that sheet of paper, loosen your paper clip just a little tiny bit now. If you try to loosen it after you've made it, it's too hard to put it back in while it's glued together. I did that yesterday with one, and I'm pretty sure I ruined my bookmark. So if you want to loosen it just a little bit, stick it back on and then check it. See if it's too tight, too loose. This is pretty good. So even if you put your paper clip through like a different way, like if you push the thinner part through the thicker part, that could also make it really tight. Yeah, this is good for me where I can pull it off easily, but I'm not struggling because I didn't do that on the first couple of them. And let me tell you, I thought I was going to rip the page, and then I made them too loose, and I was just really frustrated. So lesson learned for me, don't do that. Loosen your paper clip beforehand. So what we're going to do is we're going to put glue on this. So what I'm going to do is take my glue stick, and I think this is from Natasha at Treasure Books. This is her, I think I got this from her video. If I find the video, I will link it below. Otherwise, I'll link her channel. But this is really good how she has you do this because it will really hold onto there. So take your glue stick, put your glue on the smaller part of the bookmark. Make sure you got it nice and glued. You're going to want to use some kind of liquid glue. And what that's going to do is go around the paper clip and really hold this down. So I'm using this Barely Art Precision Craft Glue. You could use any of your liquid glue that you like, Tombow, Elmer's. I'm just going to put some drops kind of concentrated around where the fold is in the center. And then I'm just going to, so there's my center, kind of lay it down on the bookmark. With both of these glues, you have a few seconds to kind of get everything straight, but you don't have very long. So make sure you like it before you start pushing down. And then what I do with this too is really push around that paper clip in there. Just make sure it's adhering. So the thinner you have this piece, the harder it is going around the paper clip. And I used one of the smaller paper clips. I'm not sure if a teardrop one would work well for these. It might, since these are a little flatter. I'll have to try that next time. So you could decorate these. I have a little ephemera piece I got. That's it. Isn't that cute? Cute little bookmark. So obviously this size will work. Just look for strips and kind of fold them over the book and see if you like it. This one I put a little sticker on. So now I'm going to take my pile of stuff to sew. I'm going to get these all sewn down and I'll show you what they look like when I'm done. I'm back. I've got everything sewn up. I cannot wait to show you. So here is how my little banner turned out. I used green thread, a zigzag stitch, and it looks really cute. I thought the green might be too much. So cute. I can't wait to use these in my journal. Here's how the tag turned out. I love this one. Well, I mean, I love them both. But I love the red stitching on there. It looks really cute. So those turned out adorable. So you could punch holes in these too for ribbons. I'm not sure if I'm going to do that or not yet. This scrapbook paper isn't like true cardstock thickness, so these aren't super thick, so I don't know. They're really cute though. I love them. I'm not sure where my tiered pocket went. But this is how the one we made today turned out. I kind of wish I would have used white thread because the red on the red, I mean, you obviously just can't see it. I love the 4-inch size. The 3-inch will be cute in my thinner journal, but this will be perfect for my seasonal one. Really cute. You could make these as big as you want. I think I would use paper clips on them next time to hold them together better going through the sewing machine because they started to shift a little bit and I had to trim off a little bit on the bottom, but no big deal. They're still pretty straight. The note cards I sewed. So I did a little leaf pattern on this one. I almost did red stitching on this one and decided to try the green, and I love the green. So like I said earlier, I just did a straight stitch around and just did a little bit of a decorative stitch on the middle. There's this one. I did stamp the last two real quick. And they had, my machine had this little star stitch, which I kind of thought looked like little peppermints. Isn't that cute? But yeah, everything is really, really easy to make. And like I said, if you don't have a sewing machine, just do some faux stitching in whatever marker or pen color you have, and it'll look great. So don't be afraid to experiment with some of your scraps. Now that I've made some more scraps. But I hope you enjoyed the video. If you want to see more of me using up my scraps and some little projects, just let me know. Make sure you hit the like button and subscribe. And I will see you in the next video. Bye.